All right, we're going to look now at how to graph linear equations. First things first is, are you actually on page 9 right now? Meaning, should you be? Did you finish everything else your agenda has told you to do before this point? Go back and reread Google Classroom first. Double check. As long as you are actually here, let's talk about how to graph an equation that is in slope-intercept form. So, first thing you're going to do, step 1, is identify and graph the y-intercept. So using our equation, y equals 1/3 x minus 2, we're going to identify and graph the y-intercept. M would be your 1/3, b is negative 2, m is your slope, b is your y-intercept, so negative 2. I go on my y-axis to negative 2 and put a dot. Step 2, use the slope to plot at least 2 more points. So our slope, m, is 1/3. Positive. Slope is rise over run. So we're going to rise 1 and run 3. So from this dot, rise 1, run 3 in a positive direction at least 2 times. So you need at least 3 dots on your graph. Now, if you want more than 2 on this one, you run out of room, or maybe some other ones you run out of room after just 1, you can rise and run up and right to make positive and positive. You also could rise by going down 1 and then run negative 3, because down and left, 2 negatives, make a positive. So you could continue that. Step 3, connect and add arrows. So you're going to connect all the dots you did draw. It should make a straight line, and put arrows on your ends. It should make a straight line. If it doesn't, you messed up somewhere. Figure out what you did wrong. And you need arrows on your ends. Domain and range. Stop here right now. Pause your video and ask Mrs. Mullen about the domain and range. Stop the video. Talk with Mrs. Mullen about the domain and range. All right, you should have B and C filled in. You should have talked with Mrs. Mullen to fill in B and C. Part D, is it increasing or decreasing? Look at your line. Is your line increasing or decreasing? Remember from Unit 4, when you read a graph, you read it left to right. Left to right, it's increasing. What's the parent function? The parent function we talked about on the front side. The parent function of all linear equations is y equals x. Always, that is the parent function, one and only. There is no other. All right, give a possible solution. A solution, we talked about on the front side, is any point that's on your graph. I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick 3, -1. Okay, now we're going to prove it using the equation and the graph. So the equation, here was our equation. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Using this point, my y value is -1. Equals 1/3 times the x value is 3 minus 2. All of this right here, 1/3 times 3 minus 2, you can just type into Desmos. the left side is negative 1 equals 1/3 times 3 minus 2. Type that into Desmos. You get negative 1. And see how these two are equal? Negative 1 equals negative 1. They're the same number. You have now proved it using the equation. We also need to prove it using the graph. That's really easy. You go to 3, negative 1 on your graph. You're going to circle it. And draw a little arrow. Proved it. Because that point is on that line. That proves it using the graph. If the point was not on the line, then you didn't prove it because it's not on the line. All right, number 2. Y equals 2x plus 4. Graph it. Number 1, identify and graph the y-intercept. Your y-intercept is a positive 4. So on your y-axis, go up to 4. Put a dot. Number 2, use your slope to plot at least 2 more points. Your slope is 2. Remember that slope is rise over run. So I really need a fraction here. 2 is not a fraction, so let's make it a fraction. 2 over 1. Because if it's divided by 1, it stays 2. So 2 over 1 is the same as 2. So from that dot, I'm going to rise 2 in a positive direction and run 1 in a positive direction. Now see here, I ran out of room. Like I can't go up 2 more and over 1. You can't just stop and say, oh, well. You come back to your point, and instead of up and right, you can go down to left 1. Because down and left are 2 negatives. 2 negatives make a positive. And now you have that straight line that you can connect and add arrows. If you have answers up here, you know what to put here. If you stop to talk with Mrs. Mullen here, you know what to put here. Is this graph increasing or decreasing? Once again, look at it left to right. Left to right, I'm increasing. What's the parent function? What's the parent function of every linear equation? The parent function of every linear equation is y equals x. Give a possible solution. Go look at your graph. You can pick any point on that graph. I'm going to pick 0, 4. We're going to prove it using the equation. Here's your equation. My y value is 4. 2 times the x value is 0 plus 4. 4 is just 4. 2 times 0 plus 4, you can just type into Desmos. Or think about the fact that 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. Those two numbers are the same. You've proved it using the equation. Good job. Now on the graph, we're going to go to 0, 4. Hey, look, that dot is on the line. Perfect, I've proven it. Okay, number 3. Graph it. Step 1, y-intercept, which is a positive 1. So on your y-axis, put a dot on the positive 1 on your y-axis. Step 2 is using your slope, which is negative 2 over 3. Okay, I know there tends to be a lot of confusion with this because there's a negative in front. So is it a negative 2 or a negative 3? It doesn't matter, but only one of them is negative. So you can either say negative 2 over 3 or 2 over negative 3. Either one is the same as what I have here, but only one negative. This is saying you're going to go down 2 and right 3. Negative, positive. Down 2 and right 3. This one is saying you're going to go up 2 and left 3. So either way is correct, because see how those made a line? You don't need to do both. You need to do one of them twice. Or you could do both, but you need 2 points. So you can go down and left, or sorry, down and right, and then you can go down and right again. You go up and left, and you go up and left again, or you can do them on both sides. Either way is fine. Step 3, connect them with a straight line, arrows on the end. B, C, D, E, and F. You should be able to use some information that you have from numbers 1 and 2 to get those done, and then get them checked. And then we're going to talk about number 4. Graph it. Start with the y-intercept. What's the y-intercept in this problem? Zero. When there isn't a y-intercept, it's 0. Step 2 is using your slope to make at least 2 more dots. Your slope is -3. Similar to this example back up here where I had just a 2. I don't have a fraction, so I made it into 2 over 1. Same thing on this one. It's going to be -3 over 1. So rise over run, -3 is down 3, run 1, which is positive, so down and then to the right. And at least one more time. You also could have, instead of down and right, gone up and left. Because one positive and one negative is a negative. And then step 3, connect those and put an arrow on both ends. In both 3 and 4, you have a negative slope. See how these lines are a negative slope? Good. On 1 and 2, you had positive slopes, and see how these are both positive lines? That's good. Pay attention to those. Similar to number 3, in number 4, you are going to do B through F on your own. And then make sure you do get them checked.